Hey guys, happy Monday again. Okay, so I thought we could do better. I kind of botched up the first video, and while you guys probably understand the concept, I think I'm going to take it down, and we're going to do one that maybe doesn't have quite so many blunders in it. So what can I say? I'm only human. Okay, so this is what we're doing today. This is the card that we recreated this morning. Hey Margie, thanks for hopping back on. We're going to try this again. I think I can do better. This is the card that we recreated this morning using the Holiday Sparkle Kit, and it's only available while supplies last this month. So I do expect it to sell out quickly. So if you guys want to grab this, you probably need to grab it pretty darn fast over at susanwilliams.ctmh.com. But this is the card that we recreated this morning. So if you guys want to see the video for that, just scroll down on the business page. This is the pop-up feature that we added to the inside. And I don't know about you guys, but that is darn cute. Darn cute. So we're going to recreate one to go on the inside of another card. And like I said, hopefully this video will be a little bit less train wreck-ish than the one that we just did a moment ago. Okay, so this is what we are going to do. You guys are going to need a liner for the inside. And you're going to need something, you're going to want something to, to kind of flutter around, to kind of have the interactivity portion of it. And so, oh, I'm so glad you like it, sweetie. Thank you. So I did grab the thin cut hearts again. I'm using the largest basic heart and then the largest stitched heart. Of course, you guys know those are two different sets, and they nestle perfectly. So I did use one of each, and that's what I'm going to use for the inside of my card. We're going to go ahead and it gets a little bit cumbersome whenever we go and we make all of these creases and that type of thing, and it doesn't really want to. Oh, thank you for sharing, sweetheart. I so appreciate that. Thank you. So I find that it's easiest for us to do our stamping, and if you want to use the journaling pen and that type of thing, for you to do that before we start folding everything up and bending all those paper fibers around, because then they don't want to lay flat. So we're going to go ahead really quickly and use the journaling pen around the outside, because you guys know that, it's a must in my studio. And if you guys are wanting to write down the measurements for these pieces, this liner, of course, I'm using on the 5x7 cards. The Holiday Sparkle cards are not, are small, what we call A2 size greeting cards. The A2 size are what we normally use, and those are 5.5 inches tall by 4.25 inches wide when they're closed. So if you wanted to use a liner for a card that size, you guys would use, grab a piece of cardstock or paper that was 5 inches by 8 inches and then fold it in half. Okay, that's going to fit your A2 size, your standard greeting card size, 5 inches by 8 inches. But since we are using a larger card, because the Holiday Sparkle cards are big, the large 7 inches tall by 5 inches wide, our liner size is 6.5 inches by 9.5 inches, and then you are folding it in half as well. So one more time, for the cards that we're doing today that are 5x7s, you need 6.5 inches tall by 9.5 inches tall. And if you want to use the smaller A2 size, you're going to use a liner that's 5 by 8, and you're folding them both in half, okay? So we're just going to add a really quick tiny bit of stamping to the bottom here, and using a little bit of black ink and the raspberry ink. And my sentiment says, keep a warm heart and spread love wherever you go. And I thought it was perfect with the little heart flying up there. So I'm just adding really quick little stamping down here at the bottom. And as I mentioned, it's much easier to do this part before you guys get it all folded up and bound up, because once those paper fibers are creased, they don't ever want to lay flat again. Here's a little bit of raspberry, which is this really great hot pink color that looks perfect with the mint and the light pink there. I love it. This is cardstock, Karen. This is ballerina cardstock that I'm using. You guys absolutely could use pattern paper, and I got into my Oh What Fun paper collection because it matches so perfectly, but I didn't find a pattern that was really perfect enough, that it matched the outside enough, and that I felt like it wasn't busy enough for you to still kind of write your message on it. So I just stuck with cardstock this time. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just folding this in half, guys, and you really want to grab a bone folder to do this. The key to this To this entire feature, to laying flat, are the creases that you make in your paper fibers. You really want good creases in both your hearts and your liner fibers, okay? So you're not going to crease this too much, I assure you. You just want them really good and creased. And I'm doing it on both sides. And I'm also opening it up and I'm creasing it that way as well. Because I really want this to lay flat. I still want there to be able, I still want to be able to mail it, put it in the mail. And that really is key to doing that. Okay, and so here are our hearts. And in the previous video that I showed you guys, I used gold foil, but it cracked just a little tiny bit when you folded it, when you busted it with the bone folder. So I did not grab gold foil whenever I redid this to show you guys. So we're just taking the heart, and you're going to fold them. You're going to crease them on both sides, the inside and the outside. And this is very important. You cannot get too many creases going on with these because we want them to lay flat. You're going to have many layers on here. They're going to be sitting on top of each other. You want them to lay flat and you want them to work really, really well. Like if I didn't have a really good crease on all of this kind of, you know, the mechanical portion of it, it's not going to open well. It's not going to lay flat. So it's really, really important. I know I keep saying that, but it is important. So again, we are creasing both of the hearts down the center. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad so many of you guys are joining back in. This video hopefully will be better than the other one. Maybe we won't have so many train wrecks going on. Okay, so we are going to now adhere our hearts one on top of each other. And I only put adhesive on one side. And you'll see why in a moment. It's going to ensure it to sit a little bit flatter. So, I'm going to get it centered. I love how these hearts nestle so perfectly. Okay. So we're smashing it down really good. We only have adhesive on one side. Now we're going to open it up. And since we waited to put adhesive on the second side, this is still going to allow you to adhere them together and lay flat, because that is the name of the game. So now we are adhering both. Sorry guys if I'm jiggling my table. I hope you're not too crazy dizzy. Okay, so now we're ready to go with our heart. This is the part that's a little bit tricky. Please promise me you're not going to be frustrated. It does take a little bit of finagling, but you're not going to mess it up. As long as don't get your bone folder out, you're not going to mess this up. You can fiddle with it as much as you want. So what I did was I took my heart and I measured, because I wanted to make sure that I left enough room for my embellishment. Now, if you guys had a smaller embellishment, you may want to make your little pop-up feature a little bit further up to the top. But I wanted large enough for my big heart. It's pretty good size to be able to flap out. So what I did was I had measured in about 2 3/4 inches was pretty perfect. So, pardon me. So I just went down and with my pencil, this is on the outside of it. No one's going to see this. You don't even have to erase this pencil line because it's going to be adhered to the inside of your card base, okay? So I have marked, hey Sue from New Zealand, thanks for hopping on, darling. You should be sleeping, shouldn't you? So I marked down at 2 3/4 inches just with a pencil. This is the part that takes a little bit of like finagling, okay? And this is another one of the reasons why it was so important that we had it creased so well, because remember this, you have your paper creasing one direction and then up here you have it creasing another direction. So that's why it's so important to make sure both sides have such a really crisp crease on them. So you're just going to move your finger down, fold, and begin folding it, okay? There's nothing scientific to this, you guys. You want to make sure that your fold is very symmetrical, and you can do that by I'm not putting a lot of pressure on here. I've not even creased the paper probably. We are just folding it down a tiny bit with our fingers, making sure that our corners up here are lining up. Now, I'm still not folding it down. I'm still not creasing that paper, okay? Still not creasing it. I just want to make sure, I've not got my bone folder or anything out. I just want to make sure that the angles line up correctly for me to be able to put my heart on here. And it did. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. So I know now that I can go ahead and fold this down using my bone folder. Again, I'm still making sure that my corners are lining up here because you need it to be symmetrical so it will mechanically operate properly. Hi, Tammy and Cheryl. Thanks for hopping on, guys. Okay, so bone folder, bone folder, bone folder. Say it with me 3 times fast. It's very important, you guys. The better crease that you put on here, the flatter it's going to lay, the better it's going to mechanically work. Okay, I'm not catching or hanging or anything. Nothing's binding up. Very important on both sides. And again, guys, you can make this as large or as small as you would like. I just think it's so super fun. I mean, how fun would that be to open up a card and have something flutter out at you? I think that's so totally fun. Well, oops. Might have to stick an embellishment up there and cover that up. Okay, we'll fix that later. We'll fix that later. It must have had a little piece of ink or something. I'm not sure. We'll fix that in a little while. Okay, so we have our hearts. And again, with the same philosophy with the adhesive, we're only going to put adhesive on one side of the heart, okay? You also want to, you guys could choose to place your heart down below if you would like, or whatever you're putting on the inside. You could place it down below if you would like. I like mine to kind of stick up over top. So you want to be really careful when you're placing your adhesive on here that you don't put it up here near the top, because you don't want, when it's closed, you don't want the tips of the heart to stick together and not open properly. And you also don't want it to actually like adhere itself to your white card base either. So whenever you're placing your adhesive, make sure that you avoid the top portion of the heart. And again, we're only placing adhesive on one side, on one side of the heart, because we want to make sure that we can get it to lay flat before we adhere both sides, okay? So we just have one side on here. And you'll feel it whenever it's totally flush on there, guys. You will be able to feel that. Press it down really, really well. Okay, so now we can add the other part. And this is a little tiny bit tricky. It's a little bit tricky, but it's going to be worth it when you're done, I promise. Worth it when you are done. I promise. Okay. There we go. So this way, we have adhered something down that's not exactly supposed to sit flush, but it's going to sit flush because of the way we've used the adhesive. Now it's totally super flat. See how flat that is? There's hardly any dimension in there at all if I can get my camera to focus. Look how crazy flat that is. That's what we wanted. That was the whole purpose of it, okay? Yeah, I'm going to have to get my eraser and clean up some of that. So now, since we have the inside made correctly, we are just going to place a little bit of adhesive around each of your edges, okay? Only on one side again, because we want it to lay flat. Okay. So we are, let me see where a pink one is. This one will work. Let's do this one of my husband and my kiddo. So we are, you want to line it up, make sure that it's centered. So I have about on mine, with my measurements, I have about 1/4 of an inch on the top and 1/4 of an inch on the bottom of that white card base showing. So we're lining it up. Remember, we only had adhesive on one side, and that's so it will lay perfectly flat when it's inside the envelope, okay? So now we're ready to adhere the other side. So just a little bit of adhesive around all of your edges. And again, this portion is probably, this type of card is going to be best for you guys to create from the inside out. So you would, start with your stamping, then start with this, and then place it inside your card base, and then you would probably move to assembling the outside, because the more layers you have on here, the more lumps and bumps and all of that you're working with. And again, the key to this type of card is that it mechanically lays as flat as possible. So, oh my gosh, isn't that so cute? Seriously, isn't that so cute? You guys could put anything that you wanted there. You could use the hearts like I did, or you could grab a fun Cricut embellishment. You could even get one of those Christmas sentiments that the Cricut cuts out, or use the fa la 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 thin cut that we have. Anything that would be really fun to adhere here, right up on top of here, that would pop out when you opened up the card. I think that is so fun. Oh my gosh, so fun. So definitely grab a bone folder, you guys, and add some pretties to the inside of your cards. I hope you enjoy. That's all I got today for you. I hope you guys have a great Monday, and I'll see you soon.